Drawing women. Here we go. The good thing about drawing women is that most of you have been through the 30-day anatomy initially, and these extra parts here are something that I just want to delve a little bit deeper into the subject matter. You already kind of know how to make your own mannequin, and perhaps I can give you some pointers on making your own female mannequin. As I have told several times, when we're looking at the female mannequin, an oval and a sideways oval, in some way, the shoulders need to be smaller than the hips. That's key. That is key right there. So, from the collarbone, I like to either the collarbone is going to be flat or it's going to be down a little bit. So if I go in and here is the rib cage. Go ahead and change colors here for a second. I guess it really doesn't help out. Here is the rib cage. Now, I exaggerated this for a reason. So you see we have this nice shape right here. Now, what I like to do is, we have a space right here, as all human beings do, for your respective genital area. What I like to do is I can draw underneath here the legs. And I'm just going to make some pretty basic mannequin legs. Now, if you noticed, I brought think of it like underwear, and I brought them up above the hips. Now, I tend to think about the top portion right here, starting from the crotch area, coming up to the top of the hips. I think about that as one, because that helps me out a little bit. Now, this is very exaggerated. I understand that. But I just want to get this point across to you. I think about right up in here, for me personally, there's going to be right where the belly button is. There's just this slightly layer of fat right here. This is where I'm explaining the curves to you. So, and this is the thing that makes women look like women. It's not a huge, gigantic, cartoony pair of breasts. You can have that. There's nothing wrong with that, and I've seen it done really effectively. But let's try and tone things down a bit. So I'm actually looking at about a 45-degree angle from the collarbone is where the nipple would be, and I'm thinking of the breasts as kind of this right here, discs. And it all depends. And the breasts don't necessarily have, and this is how I'm thinking about them from the front, because breasts are different. If you just type in breasts, you can use as much photo reference as you want. I'm just giving you guys the basics here, just the basics as the way I see them. On the inner thigh, there's a little bit of fat right there, and I tend to accentuate that. And so I try to keep that in mind. Coming down to the knee, I tend to make a little bit of a curve right there, because it's like this line is just flowing down from the thigh, and I'm just imagining it, because this is where the bone is, obviously. This is where your kneecap is. And so the leg is fitting into there. And I just draw just a little bit. I try to make the lines as smooth as possible. I try to make it one continuous line with women. That's my style of drawing women. So from the side, what I'm thinking is when the breasts are out, the way that I think about the breasts is the top, the front, and underneath. And if you think about it, right where the arms are, let me move this shoulder in a little bit more to make it a bit more accurate. Right where the breasts are attached, It depends on, like I said, it depends on the size and the shape and everything else. But I think about top, that's the front, and then underneath. And underneath is always resting on top of the rib cage. So it does have some weight to it. It can have some, it does have the breasts do have a lot of variety to them. And breasts on a female character will tell you a lot about the character. So I always try and think of the armpit right here. This is still the chest. There's still a chest right here. It's still chest muscles. Women have chest muscles, obviously. They have to, they're human beings. And so this little area right here of fat, like I like to draw in a little bit of the rib cage, and I like to make this little area right here. It doesn't have to be huge, but I like that curve right there. It just makes my characters feel a bit more like I'm going to have to bring this in a little bit because I over exaggerated it. Let me go ahead and erase this part right here so you can really, really see what I'm talking about. And from the back right here, I tend to just kind of curve that here. And from that side, you see how I got the hip right up here? That's what I'm thinking about, is I make the hip almost want to touch the rib cage, almost. And the buttocks, I'm looking at the hip joining into the buttocks, and then we're looking at the thighs, the side right here, and the inside or the back of your thigh is gonna, I tend to put a little tiny curve right. I like subtle curves when I'm drawing most women. I like things to be really subtle. There's an artist named Milo Manara, which I do have an entire Pinterest page to. Study some of his stuff. It is fantastic. Fantastic. Again, down here, you see like I have the hips. So this is a back view. So these are the hips right here. And I think the hips, they're the obliques. Obliques joining into the buttocks. And so the buttocks muscle, the gluteus maximus, gluteus medius. I still like drawing the hips in here. So right above here, I put the hips. That's the curve to the back. And I've been drawing women for a while. But then I'll just go back over and I'll just try and make this one smooth continuous line. Especially if I'm inking the line. I like to have weight here. I think of the buttocks as two different objects. Obviously, there's separation right there. And if the leg is back, then you want to show that. So if the leg is back more, this goes to anybody, by the way. Depends. I mean, if you guys are much more muscular, you're not gonna have hips there, obviously. But for your women, your female characters, think about two spheres. When you are drawing the buttocks, think about two spheres that are attached to hips. Because the way that you draw buttocks, that's entirely up to you. That's one of the things that's going to be your style. So I just kind of had a few examples here. If there's anything that I'm missing, like I said, if we're going to draw, if we're drawing larger breasts, like the larger breasts get, the more square they seem to kind of become. If they're just huge, I try to square them off a little bit, but compound that. I also try to match that with curves in general. I think I'm just putting these shoulders back a little bit too far, but so maybe I'm just bringing this line in a little bit here, and then I'm bringing that all the way over here. So I just joined that hip. That's going to be the hip right there, and the buttocks is right there, of course. And then I'm thinking my mannequin underneath. Maybe this character is a bit more fuller figured. And right back here, I want to just make this line a lot more subtler, or more subtle. From the back here, this is how I look at it. I just look at the shape, and I just kind of join them together. It all depends. So I'm just kind of drawing the hips in here. And that is what I'm doing. And from the back, the character has very large breasts. You can see them. The shoulders, well, I don't the shoulders where maybe their hands are raised up or something for some reason. But also get a little bit of the rib cage in there. If I'm drawing a character that has, so this shape goes to anything. So let's say I draw a character that has smaller breasts. You don't want all your characters to have huge breasts. This character can still be, is still very feminine because of the shoulder to hip ratio. That's the key right there. Because if I did this, just to express to you something. You can tell that this is a feminine character. I didn't put any huge breasts right here. All I did, we could put her a dress on or something like that. I don't know. She doesn't necessarily have to have a dress. But you can tell that this is a female character. Why? Because the hips are wider. I didn't even draw in any indications of any breasts. So that's the key right there to women. It's that hip to shoulder ratio.